Welcome to Employee Spotlight. Today I am at our Danville location with Kent Domsch, our Director of Admin. Kent, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Chris.
Kent, how long have you been at the co-op?
7.5 years here.
7.5 years. And what did you do before coming to Progressive Ag?
Yep, I've been in the co-op system a long time. I spent 17.5 years at the Cairo co-op. I was a controller for 10 and the general manager for 6.5 years, and prior to that I did work at another co-op, but right out of college I went to work for a company called Lindbergh and Vogel and was an auditor of co-ops.
So you've worked in the co-op system, seems like, for most of your career. What would you say your favorite part of working at the co-op is?
Getting to meet customers, getting to meet new people. I enjoy that, and I've always enjoyed harvest and wheat harvest. I look forward to it every year, and just the overall, there's just something different each day. I'm not necessarily doing the same thing every day, and I enjoy that.
Absolutely. It's always something new here at Progressive Ag Co-op. If you're in our Danville location, stop in and say hi to Kent anytime. I'm Chris, and this has been Employee Spotlight.
Thanks.
Welcome to PAC Talk, your source for all the information you need to make your farming operation successful in today's agricultural landscape. I'm your host, Chris Kreifels, Vice President of Technology here at Progressive Ag Co-op. I'm joined today with two guests, our own Anna Cline, Yield Specialist here at Progressive Ag Co-op, and Brock Welch, Market Development Specialist for AgBiTech. Brock, thanks for coming. Appreciate you joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
So one thing we want to touch on today is fall crop insects. We're starting to see some. Anna, what are we seeing in the fields right now?
What we're seeing in the fields right now is some armyworms coming out of the cut wheat, migrating over into the soybeans.
And just beans? Are we seeing that anything in milo and corn right now?
Nothing right now. Of course, as soon as it gets a little more mature, the corn and the milo, we'll start seeing more of that.
Okay. So we got the armyworms coming in. What's the problem? I mean, what can they do to our crop?
Right now, what I'm seeing is feeding on the leaves. Most of the beans right now around this area are double crop beans, so they haven't started blooming yet, and therefore, they're not potted out yet. So right now, they're just feeding on the leaves.
Okay, and I know some insect damage is cosmetic. Is this hurting the plant right now?
It's actually just cosmetic for the most part. When beans are in vegetative stage, they need to be up to 60% defoliated before they need a treatment. So for the most part, it's just cosmetic and not reducing yield at all.
So when we're going out scouting fields, we're trying to see what stage whether we're up to that 60%, which, are we seeing that right now?
I've only found a couple fields that are up to 60, especially along the edge. It went in probably 120 feet. So the farmer wanted to go ahead and treat those.
Okay, so around the edge, primarily, obviously we want to get it before it gets to the middle of the field. So we find these army worms in the beans. Let's talk about the beans first. What are we doing? What's our best plan of action?
Typically, lately, it's been pyrethroid use, but as the years have gone on, pyrethroids have started to fade in their efficacy. So mainly we've started to switch over to diamide use in the future, but as the years have gone on there, the price of that has not really came down. A lot of diamides are in that $15 to $20 an acre range, so it's not incredibly economical to spray those right now. And then there's been some other treatment tools, but with the supply issues of 2020 and 2021, those have been a little hard to get their hands on as well.
Right. So what's our best plan? AgBiTech has a product for this?
So we actually have a product for soybean podworm or sorghum headworm, or as some people call it, corn earworm. It's a biological insecticide instead of a synthetic insecticide that most people are used to. It acts a little bit different than a synthetic treatment. It takes about 5 to 7 days to see full symptomology compared to a synthetic. It takes some sort of population, low populations out there, to start the infection period, whereas synthetics normally have leaf and plant residual, where we don't. Our residual comes from the insect populations feeding on each other and passing that virus strand along to the next generation or next population that comes into that field.
Okay. So does that help us with our armyworms we're seeing now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what do we need to do for the armyworm?
So right now we've just been hitting it with 3 ounces of a bifenthrin. Ours is Sniper. There's numerous names of a bifenthrin out there, so that's keeping control of them.
So that's kind of our strategy now. We move into seeing some of those podworms and those headworms, corn earworms. That's where the Heligen product really comes in.
And that's when you're trying to protect the markable grain, so the milo grain or the pods on the soybeans and stuff like that. That's the most important markable grain that we're trying to protect, which will probably come later in the month of August, but when we start seeing those things start to show up in some of these fields.
Okay. So we're laying down Sniper now.
Sniper, yeah.
Okay. And that's going to help us keep our armyworm population. And then as we move in, we're going to move into the Heligen product. And you said that's in August about?
Yeah.
Are they going to move into all those crops in that time, or is it?
Well, actually, normally podworm, headworm, corn earworm, whatever you want to call it, or whatever you prefer, normally prefers, after it comes out of the corn or migrates up from South Texas, prefers grain sorghum first, and then normally soybeans, and then normally cotton, and then anything else after that. So normally it's that they'll go to headed out grain sorghum, and then if that stuff's past its prime time to be fed on, it will then make the jump to a soybean field and try to start feeding on pods. Then normally, really the whole month of August is kind of its prime time for those crops to be fed on at any time. And then once we get to September, it seems like they kind of decide they're done and get out of here.
So what effect does Heligen have on beneficials?
So Heligen, compared to synthetic other than a diamide, so like a pyrethroid, it's very soft on beneficials. So like in grain sorghum, we talk about ladybugs, lacewings, minute pirate bugs. Heligen has zero effect on those beneficials, which in turn, in the last several years, not so much the last 2, but back to 2014-15, where it was very important at keeping sugarcane aphids in check. When you go out there with a pyrethroid, normally those pyrethroids also kill your beneficials, which in turn normally means you're going to come back in a week or 2 and spray a $20 an acre transformer Savano to control sugarcane aphids at that point. So Heligen's biggest thing is being very soft on those, and also being efficacious on those headworms that we're really trying to kill.
Okay, so the Heligen product is great because it is soft on those beneficials. But are we looking at that's something when we scout that field and it's overrun with bugs? That's something we need to do, or is that something we really need to hit early to make best use of that product?
So Heligen more acts as like a preventative insecticide. Lower populations out there for, say, in grain sorghum, if you go out there and beat 10 milo heads in a bucket and you're picking up 2 to 5 worms out of 10 heads that are under a ½ inch in size, that's Heligen's perfect fit. Once we start creeping closer to that 1 worm per head, or 1 worm out of 10 heads that you beat in a milo or into a bucket for milo, you need to probably start thinking about switching over to a diamide like Previthon, or what they call it now is Vanacore. They've reformulated it too, for more of a knockdown effect on stuff that we can't control, because when the populations are too high, Heligen just takes way too long to work and way too long to control what's out there.
So Heligen's a cost-effective alternative if we can hit it low, hit it early with those low populations.
Yes.
Well, Brock, I think that about covers kind of what we wanted to touch on. Our main thing today is just getting some word out to all of our viewers about those fall insect problems that we want to see and catch those before they get to be a problem. So, Brock, thanks for joining us today. You can contact Anna or Ryan about the Heliogen product to see if that's a good fit for you. And if we need to, we can absolutely get with Brock and answer any questions you might have. So again, that wraps up our conversation on fall crop insects. So we thank you for watching. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at proagcoop.com. And be sure to like our YouTube channel and follow that so that we can keep producing more videos like this. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. We would like to hear from you and what you thought of today's discussion. Leave us a comment or send us an email at pactalk@proagcoop.com. Hit that like button and also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos just like this one. If you have a question you would like the PAC Talk team to answer, or a specific topic you'd like us to cover on an upcoming episode of PAC Talk, shoot us an email with your request and we will do our best to get you the answers you need. Again, that's pactalk@proagcoop.com. PAC Talk is a production of the Progressive Ag Co-op media team. It is the vision of Progressive Ag Co-op to build successful partnerships with our patrons, employees, and all we do business with to ensure that both Progressive Ag Co-op and our patrons' businesses are sustainable in this ever-changing agricultural landscape.